Hello and welcome to our afternoon session, the first session of our afternoon program. So I really appreciate everybody coming on here. If you've been at the other sessions this morning, I really do appreciate that. Thank you and welcome back. If this is your first session, I'm really glad you're here, and hopefully you're going to be here to be able to check out some of the sessions that are coming on later on in the afternoon. Before I get to introducing Paul and Randy, I want to let you know that I'll be posting a couple things towards the end of the meeting in the chat. We do have a Teams meeting. It's a virtual lounge going on where you are welcome to pop into that lounge and you just check out and talk to some of my team members, ask any additional questions that you might have. It's being staffed all day by my team. They're kind of rotating in and out. So you'll get to meet some of the people that you might already be talking to. And then our resources page, I'll put that in the chat as well. The resource page is where you will go to get your certificates from each of the classes that you attended, and also download any of the extra forms and the cheat sheets that L&R will be providing today. So I'll get that in the chat a little bit later on. While this presentation is going on, feel free to just post your comments and ask questions there. Paul's going to take care of all of your questions and everything. So, but together, Paul and Randy with L&R USA, they work closely with physicians, certified lymphedema therapists, oncology teams, vascular specialists, and wound care providers to help ensure appropriate compression protocols are implemented and maintained in accordance with current standards of care. Their approach with garments emphasizes clinical precision, patient adherence, and long-term management strategies designed to support optimal outcomes and quality of life. They are committed to being accessible, responsive partners to both clinicians and patients, and they welcome the opportunity to assist in any way they can. And aside from all that, I will say that I bother Paul all the time via text messages, even late at night. And when he says he's accessible, he means it. And Randy's been a lot of help to me as well. And so I appreciate you guys being here. Thank you very much for participating in this. I'm excited to see what y'all have to say. And I'm sure you're going to teach everybody quite a bit. So I'll, no further ado, hand this over to Paul and Randy.
Thanks, Joshua. And just happy to be a part of this. I want to confess something that was the introduction was no way, shape, or form ChatGPT. Had to make it sound nice. But anyways, my name is Paul Straconi, Director of National Accounts, and Randy is on the call with us, which he'll be doing the majority of the slide presentation today. He's the Director of Commercial Development. I can kind of see where we're both based in the United States. So again, who are we? We are L&R. We are over 160 over 160 years old, and have a history of both garments as wound care supplies as well as bandaging. In 2014, we are acquired by L&R, and we are now based in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Actually, if you've ever seen where the Brewers play baseball, we are almost in their parking lot. That is where we are headquartered.
Thanks, Paul. I'll take it from here. I don't normally do these with this many people, but I always offer the same thing, and I'll do it today anyways. I hope it doesn't bite me. Anyone that's joining that wants to ever visit our office in Milwaukee, reach out to Paul, reach out to myself. We're happy to facilitate a tour, introduce you to the team. You can see how products are made. The other thing that I like to offer, and this is a genuine one for sure, the other one is too, anything that we talk about today from a product standpoint, my expectation is that if you'd like a sample in the clinic for show and tell purposes, you should have access to it. If there's anything that we talk about today that you'd like to trial for free, reach out to Paul or me, and we can connect you with your rep and make sure that happens. There's kind of two versions of a presentation that I do in this format. One is kind of just a very routine product by product, category by category presentation where we go into the details of what makes each product unique. And then there's another one, and I see some friendly names, people that are familiar with us already in the chat. And so instead of that version, because you can get that from your local rep, and if you want that, reach out to us. They'll come in, they'll show you every product, they'll talk to you in great detail. I also think if you've attended a few sessions, it's hard to retain that level of specificity. But beyond that, our goal is to get to a point where we're thinking about products a little bit differently. We're thinking about how we make product decisions a little bit differently. And so on the slide right now is an example of our bandaging products for lymphedema patients. And I could tell you within each category what makes them different. And so for an example, the skin protection, the TG tubular is our standard stockinette. It's what the vast majority of your patients will use for stockinette. But I'll have a therapist reach out to me and say, hey, my patient has really fragile, friable skin. Is there something you'd recommend? And there isn't always a product solution to a clinical problem, but sometimes there is. And I might say it might not solve the problem, but let me send you a sample of TG Soft. That might help. Or you might reach out and say, have a patient really sensitive skin. Is there anything you recommend beyond the stockinette? And I might say it might not solve the problem, but let me send you a sample of TG Cotton. It's our unbleached cotton stockinette. It might help solve the problem. So I guess when you get to a roadblock, reach out to your reps. Joshua's doing a great thing here, connecting you to a lot of manufacturers. Reach out to your reps, ask them for support, ask them for help. And again, sometimes there is a product solution to a clinical problem. At L&R Solaris, we have products to support your patients from the intensive phase of therapy, active phase of therapy, all the way to lifelong maintenance phase of therapy. And we'll start talking about what that looks like as we go forward. Sort of when your patients walk into your clinic, you start to assess them. You're looking to see what sort of MLD sequence are you going to utilize? What kind of bandages are you going to use? What kind of other tools are you going to use to address them through the active phase of therapy? And then you might even start thinking about long-term, what garments they're going to wear in the maintenance phase of therapy. Part of that is the decision-making process, how you navigate that. At L&R, we have one of the best-in-class custom design centers. Solaris was started by an OT named Kathy Weatherly, designed one of the first nighttime garments in the market. We're really lucky. The folks that are in our design center today are the same folks that were there when Kathy started the company. So they've seen everything. If there is a case, a clinical case, and you're like, I don't know how to fix this, they've probably seen it. They probably have some good ideas. The other piece that's really special about is L&R's warranty. So you will not have a patient that's abandoned with a garment, a custom garment, a new custom garment that they've ordered that doesn't work for them. We'll keep working until they have something that is really something that's going to be helpful to them. Going from that custom design center is into our first garment, so to speak. It's Tribute Night. It's probably what we're best known for. It's our custom nighttime garment. Paul actually trained me when I got hired at L&R, and he would always say, it's not, can we do something? It's how do we do something? We can do almost anything. And here on the screen, you can see examples of different styles of Tribute Night garment. This is our variable density tip foam garment. And what you're seeing here is a representation of different anatomical regions and custom garments that we've designed for that patient. So even some of you today might be looking at a pair of shorts and you're saying, man, I love those shorts, but I just wish we could do this. And the answer is, yeah, we can. Let's design that together. Reach out to me, reach out to Paul, reach out to the design center. We can do that. We might already have a solution, and maybe you're going to come up with something for the first time. Bridging from that. So right now we're addressing anatomical regions. Going from there, now we're talking about presentation. And so a call that we get routinely is, how do we address a pannus or a lobule? And so one of the things that we talk about when we're building garments is addressing, we have clinical goals. What are we trying to accomplish clinically with this garment? Then there are other personal goals for the patient. Do they have arthritis? Do they have donning issues? Do they have balance issues? Do they have personal issues? Maybe they want to knit at night, or they have some other sort of goals. They have personal goals. In this case, the clinical goal was, we have to address this pannus. What are they looking for there? In this case, they're looking for both a lift as well as compression. And we were able to achieve that with a different type of material from just the standard ready-made material. So it came over the top of the shoulders to lift, and then around the waist to compress as well. Paul, I think maybe if you mute, we're getting a little background noise. But moving on from there, and again, please, if you have questions, put them in the chat for Paul to answer. Another question that we get, so some of you that are familiar with Tribute Night, we talked about it very briefly. Some of you eventually get to the point where like, oh, we love this other product you have, Ready Wrap, and we love Tribute Night. Is there any way that we can pair the features of those products together? The answer is yes. One of the things that make Tribute Night and the L&R Design Center so special is the level of specificity we can achieve with custom garments. A lot of times the issue is just that you all don't know that stuff exists. And the truth of the matter is Even though I've been here for a while and Paul twice as long, we still don't know some of these features exist. So you have to ask to know that it's possible. And an example of this is we have a couple different options of finger grips. One is one you can slot your finger in. Another one is a finger loop that looks to be smaller, but some patients use a donning tool that has a hook on it. And so that style hook is designed for that donning tool. And so that all starts with a conversation with your rep or with the design center to say, these are tools they use to put on garments or do other things. And we'll go, okay, if they're comfortable doing that, instead of the finger loop that a lot of patients find to be easier, we can build in something that meets that patient's needs. That's the level of specificity that we can achieve with custom. Oops. There we go. Going into the customization of head and neck, we can place foam specifically where it would be helpful to your patient. In this middle image here, it might be hard to see, but we have these long Velcro straps. What that achieves is the ability to apply focused, targeted compression in a specific region. So we don't always have to compress uniformly all the time. One of the benefits to this is we can make garments that are less bulky. We also give your patients back some control. Head and neck garments, one of the issues with compliance is patients have a hard time wearing them. They're not that comfortable to sleep in. So giving them the ability to adjust compression to make it more manageable for them is really important to us. It's really important to your patient's compliance and having a garment that works for them. And some of that is, again, giving them the ability to modulate the amount of compression. Same thing. We're talking about specificity. We're talking about kind of piquing your imagination about how to build garments more effectively for your patients. What does that look like? We can add zippers wherever it would be helpful. We can have pull loops to your zippers so patients can don them. Velcro. Maybe you have a patient that has a really hard time with Velcro if we're connecting two garments, we can put a button snap in. Maybe they have a hard time with a button snap. We can come up with different systems and we can invent something that is a one-of-one for your patient as long as we have that conversation. Digit spacers, non-skid pads, lip bridges. I recognize enough names in the chat. I know some of you have built Tribute Nights over the years, and some of you have been around for a little bit. The original Tribute Night, variable density chop foam, designed to be placed directly against the skin to create a massage, sort of mimicking what you'd get with MLD to move that lymphatic fluid back into primary collateral pathways. Great product, received really well. Over the years, some of the feedback was that it's bulky, and you can look at it and know that it's a little bit bulky. So we launched a lower profile version of that product. Again, anecdotally, we know that the outcomes are very similar to the original profile. But if you wanted to design a wrist to axilla Tribute Night, and maybe you wanted to go low profile from the wrist to the elbow, and from the elbow to the axilla, you wanted to do original profile because they had more fibrosis. Maybe you feel like that's more effective at targeting fibrosis. We can do that. It's just a conversation. Still yet, the low profile, some patients feel like it is still too bulky. And so one of our answers to that is a new version of Tribute Night called Tribute Night Soft Fill. It's a different type of fill. It's a polyester fill. It's extremely soft. This garment, when you slide it on, if you're used to sliding on Tribute Nights, feels a lot cooler. Patients can don them a lot better. Some patients feel like they're more comfortable. This material, because it doesn't have the variable density chop foam, the skin-facing material has a shapewear to it, so it creates a micro massage and nestles into the skin to create some of that same tissue stimulation. The feedback from the soft fill has been fantastic. From a comfort donning standpoint, we're also able to achieve targeted compression class in this garment when needed. And so that's sort of the pitch on soft fill. So again, one of the things in how do you decide? How do you decide between chop foam or soft fill? If your primary concern is this patient needs a nighttime garment and they have fibrosis, you might go with a chop foam garment. If you're saying this patient would benefit from a nighttime garment, they don't really have fibrosis and they're complaining about the comfort of a bulky garment, then maybe you would go with soft fill. So that's just the jumping off point about, you know what they need. Now, what do we do? How do we build it? Again, the specificity of customization of head and neck. We could build a garment that is taking care of all of this. This patient has presentation, not this is a model, but the patient that this was designed for, they needed compression everywhere. But what we can afford your patient here is the customization, the ability to add or remove pieces as needed. That's the takeaway here. One of the benefits of having such a robust custom design center is we get to use years of data, sizing, features. And when we launch a ready to wear garment like the Tribute Wrap, which is our ready to wear nighttime garment line, we're able to do it based on the data of what has worked for the majority of patients. And so here we have the Tribute Wrap head and neck and a Tribute Wrap head and neck with a tracheostomy accommodation. And then we also have a number of accessories that can come with these garments. They can help address and add compression or foam to different regions. And maybe you're looking at a Tribute Wrap accessory, you're like, oh, I wish we had that in a Tribute Night. We can do any of that. It's all possible. So we're talking about that soft fill. This is an example of a Tribute Night bra. And again, a lot of patients that, especially a lot of our breast cancer patients that have had a mastectomy, they experience a lot of relief in having chop foam against that scar tissue. Some patients need compression. They don't need that. And they want something that's going to be a little bit more comfortable. Comfort is maybe the most important thing in deciding on what garment for them. In this case, the Tribute Night Soft Fill is fantastic. The feedback's been really, really wonderful, and that patients have found this to be so comfortable, tolerated it so well, and they've still seen a significant reduction in the amount of volume in that tissue because they're still getting that compression and the comfort's there as well. Other examples of styles of Tribute Night, just again, we can go through each of these and describe what's different about them, but you can see them. It's just to pique your imagination that we can do a lot. And so one example of what that means, what is a lot? Sometimes I say we can do anything, but we don't even know what that means. And so we talked about focused compression with that other Tribute Night head and neck garment. This is an example of what that would look like on a torso garment. This garment also has a zipper. So you put it on, it's a vest, zip it on. But we also have added in the middle next to the zipper, to the left of the zipper, is adjustable compression. So you can open this garment up. It's hard to see in the picture. You can open up all the way with the Velcro as well. And so what this affords your patient is maybe on a given night, they need a little bit more. Maybe they've reduced in volume and they want to add some more compression. They get the choice. They get to control how much compression they're experiencing in their garment. Maybe there are nights where they feel like it's just too much and they don't want to take it off entirely. We know that something in some cases is better than nothing. Maybe they can adjust and dial back the compression as well. We're giving control back to your patients, and we're doing that with custom garments. Again, another example where custom has led us to a really fantastic ready-to-wear garment. Tribute Wrap Bra is a product of a lot of data from the custom space to design a garment that works for a lot of patients. We've given them a lot of the same customization and adjustability that we've seen to be successful in Tribute Night, and it's here for Tribute Wrap as well. Before I go on to Tribute Freedom, which is a new product I'm really excited to talk about, one of the things that makes Tribute Night so special is our warranty process. I'm not sure if we have a slide on this or not, but I'll talk about it now. So one of the first things is there's a 1-year warranty. If anything happens to it, the zipper breaks, mail it back to us, we'll take it in, we'll fix it, ship it back to you for free. In that year, if it didn't have this adjustability, if this garment was loose, you can mail it back to us. We would take it in for free and ship it back for free. I think the most important thing for me, especially with therapists that are new to Tribute Night or patients that are uncomfortable with buying a custom garment, is, am I going to get something that's going to work for me? It's going to be expensive. And we have a 45-day sure fit guarantee, which means that when you order a garment with us, as many times as we need to, as long as somebody, as long as Joshua or the therapist or the patient reaches out to us and says, the garment's not quite working for my patient, it's not quite working for me, as many times as we need to go back and forth, we'll keep altering that garment. We might redesign it entirely until they have a garment that works for them. So if you're nervous about doing a custom garment, first of all, ask for a trial. We'll donate one. But then when you do one for real, be comforted by the fact that we're not going to leave you or your patients high and dry. We'll keep working with them until they have a working garment. It's not always convenient, but it's better than getting stuck with a garment that doesn't work for you. So,
Tribute Night, do you mind? Let me interrupt you real quick.
Please, of course.
Sorry to just jump in on you, but one of the things you mentioned there about the returns process is that can actually be a sticking point across, the entire industry. Everybody's like, oh my gosh, I don't know what I want to do. And it is true. Like if you're making one of these garments, these manufacturers, L&R wants this garment to work. They want it to fit, right? So they're going to work to get that done. One thing that currently I get a lot of the reason I wanted to jump in is because I get asked that a lot. Like, how do returns work with compression care? And right now, it's, you just simply send us an email and say, hey, patient name, this garment is not working. These are the changes we want to make. We will request an RA from L&R. They'll give us the information we need. But if you have already measured the changes on that garment and what you want to change, if you go ahead and submit that, not only can we submit for the RA, but we can actually submit for that new garment right then together. And so you don't have to say, hey, this doesn't work, and then later on, a week or two later, wait for that RA and then measure that. You can do it all at once and you can send it all to us. The other change that we're making right now, and my IT guys are working on this. I can't promise it'll be next week, but within the coming weeks, one of the things that we're doing on our portal is we're going to add a return exchange button so that you can click on it, tell what the problem is, upload the new measurements, hit submit, and that automatically flows through our system and will go over to L&R. So we can make this a much easier process. The whole idea of what we're trying to do, and I hate to steal it from Staples, but I wish I had come up with it. We're trying to hit that easy button, and if I had come up with that advertisement campaign, man, I'd be a happy person right now. But that's all we're trying to do. And L&R really will go back and remake these garments and keep working with the patient. I think that's an amazing thing. But we're going to try to make it easy on our therapists and practitioners to get the right garment, and doing little things like that remake return exchange button is going to make a huge difference. So keep an eye out for that, because it's gonna happen soon. So that's it. I'll be quiet now.
No, I appreciate that, Joshua. And I actually went through my CLT training last year, and what struck me as would be such a challenge is the amount of time, the limitations of an appointment, and the struggles that therapists face and fitting it all in. And so you guys making that a more efficient process is huge. And so thank you for doing that. For years, we've been asked, like, we have therapists that love Tribute Night. We have patients that love Tribute Night. Can we take that same level of specificity and customization and build it into a daytime garment? And we looked at it for a long time. And the reality is there's a lot of great nighttime custom flat knit in the market. And so we said, can we do something that kind of harnesses the same spirit of Tribute Night, but in a different way? And that's sort of what Tribute Freedom is. It's a new custom daytime option. Again, same principles as Tribute Night. Head to toe, we can do anything. One of the benefits to Tribute Freedom is that it has that same micro massage material that you saw in the Tribute Night soft fill. So it creates that micro massage. It's really sleek. It's really low profile. It's really comfortable. And more importantly, it's really a lot easier to don than some of the traditional custom flat knit that is in the market, including our ready to wear and custom flat knit. Freedom is easier to don. So if you have patients that have reported feeling claustrophobic in their flat knit, Tribute Freedom might be a good option for them. If you have patients that have had historically a hard time donning garments, custom Tribute Freedom might be a really good option for them. Spaces, the products that we've really seen have been successful have been the breast, the vest, the bras, pants, capris for your lipedema patients. There's no great coverage for your lymphedema patients, but if it's lipolymphedema, then the capris or pants are great for them as well. So that's Tribute Freedom. I love talking about this program, and I put it in every presentation I have, even if it's not really relevant. We have a program called Early Impressions. If you have PEDS patients, if you know of PEDS patients, we offer free or heavily discounted custom garments for pediatric patients. Reach out to your rep. They'll help make that happen. Next, going into leg and lower torso. That's weird in my slide. There we go. So again, an example. This was a patient success story when we launched Tribute Night soft fill. This is a patient that had tried both Tribute Night and several other nighttime garments for years and just struggled with feeling comfortable. They felt too bulky, they felt too stiff, and she immediately put on the Tribute Night soft fill and just reported such a better experience. She was able to wear them through the night. They stayed in place. Her presentation is such, you can kind of see it in the middle picture. She struggled with garments. She wears a Velcro garment in the daytime. She has to adjust them several times. She was so surprised that this garment stayed up. She's like, man, it doesn't feel like anything is there compared to what I'm wearing during the day, which is usually the opposite. Daytime garments tend to feel a little bit more comfortable than nighttime garments. This patient reported the opposite. So again, just some good feedback about the Tribute Night soft fill. When we're talking again about not can we, how do we do something? You might have a patient with an ostomy, and nighttime is inconvenient for a lot of our ostomy patients. If they're wearing a traditional garment that has not been accommodated to their appliance, they have to completely remove the garment to make sure that it fits them, to make sure to check on their appliance. And so if you have a patient with an ostomy, we can make an accommodation for them. A lot of therapists have reached out over the years for an accommodation for an amputee patient. A lot of those patients have a lot of scar tissue, and chip foam can provide them a lot of relief, and we can provide a lot of compression to address some of the swelling. Same thing there, scrotal support. We use a variety of materials to address scrotal support for that patient. So again, it's possible, you just need to ask. ReadyWrap, this is just an example of all the different ReadyWrap products we have. What I will say about ReadyWrap, and if you're not familiar, reach out to Paul or me, get some samples. We can have your rep come in and talk to you about them. With custom, with ReadyWrap, it's not, I used to think when I got hired for 5 years, I just thought custom ReadyWrap was just if a patient was too small to fit into the smallest calf or too big to fit in the largest calf or thigh, we'll make them a bigger one or a smaller one. I now know that we can do so much more. We can add zippers. We can put an internal sleeve. If you have a patient and they've used a Velcro wrap and it doesn't work for them and they need a custom option, we can build a custom option that works for them head to toe. We can combine foot, calf, knee, thigh connected. We can put zippers on it. We can do a lot. And so this is an example of what makes ReadyWrap calf special. It's 50% overlap between the layers, a color-coded system. We're really thinking about the patient experience and creating garments that are easy to use and comfortable and are going to have really good outcomes. Same thing, tribute wrap. These are options for tribute wrap. And it's weird. The LTA has provided so much access to patients to garments that they previously didn't have, but there are weird little loopholes. Like you can get the foot calf covered, the thigh is not covered for whatever reason. So we made a complete leg, which for some reason is covered. And so we take that feedback as well and try to design garments that are going to support your patients through the insurance process as well. And so we're getting close to the end, and I want to give you all time to ask questions. But sort of, again, we're going back to that first day a patient walks into your clinic and you're thinking about what you need to do and accomplish and the time to accomplish MLD and bandaging. You're thinking long-term down the road into garments, and you start to think, how do I decide? We're going to nighttime garment. How do I decide? Fibrosis, you're going to go to a chop foam garment. If that's your principal concern is addressing fibrosis. If you're looking to achieve a specific amount of compression, it's very important. Maybe there's a payer. This is a weird thing. Clinically, I know that this is the best garment for them. This garment doesn't offer graduated compression, and it doesn't offer the specific compression class needed. If you need that, we have garments that can do that. We have the ability to give you targeted compression classes, both in daytime and in nighttime. And then you might say, my patient historically has struggled with compliance because the garments aren't comfortable. If that's part of the conversation, then we shift away towards our garments that are historically been more comfortable than other garments. And so that's all part of that same process. Again, this conversation always ends up back with your reps and with the design center to build the garments that work best for them. I guess at this point, chat, Paul, Joshua, does anyone have any questions? We can address, if you want to unmute Paul, we can answer some of the questions that came up in the chat in real time, and I'll get caught up there as well.
Yeah, actually, how do you control the uniformity or distribution of compression with adaptations for ostomy and other medical devices?
Yeah, so I guess the question, I'll ask a follow-up question. I'll try to answer as best as I can. In that region, specifically with an ostomy, we're thinking about where we're draining, where we're trying to push fluid. And so as we create graduated compression levels, as all lymphedema garments should be, they should be graduated compression, that we're able to measure the amount of compression at each point in the garment to see what's happening there. Certainly, when you build in that accommodation for the appliance, you're going to see a differentiation in the amount of compression through that area horizontally. And that's the reality of what that patient's going to experience. And so there are things we could probably do to address that building up foam if we saw that a different issue was presenting itself. But that's sort of the answer. I'm not sure if that answers your question, but that is sort of my answer to that question.
Joshua, this was more of a billing question on tribute night, but I think it's a good general question. On custom, let's just take a tribute night, for instance. If someone needs a Velcro modification, if someone needs a pull up loop, how would you bill that? Would that be under accessories, or can you kind of explain that process?
That's a really good question. And I don't get that technical in it. Here's what I can tell you because the team kind of handles that. I will say this, can it be built? Yes. I don't know that they using the accessory code is a great way to do things, and like I can give you kind of an example of this with silicone top band. We always use the accessory code. Now they've kind of separated that out for this year. Now it has its own code. So all those extras and add-ins, it's usually the accessory code that we're going to do. So I can say with a high degree of certainty, yes, it's going to be that accessory code. However, if there's ever a specific code that comes out, we'd actually end up using that specific code, much like with the top band. The silicone top band is now its own special code, so we can. But is it billable? Yes, 100%. We can do it.
Yeah, I'll just to add on, that's been my experience as well, kind of how Joshua's explained it. I'll also let you know that we add some donning loops standard. So even if you don't ask for donning loops in a lower extremity garment, we're going to put them where we have traditionally put them, where it makes sense to put them. If you didn't want them, you could let us know this patient doesn't want any donning loops, or maybe you get them and you want them in a different spot. That's a different conversation we had. But we put some donning loops on certain garments as a standard feature of what that garment is. We put non-skid pads as a standard feature on a lot of our lower extremity garments, just because they sort of need to be there. And again, you can ask to have them not there, but some of that stuff we do standard.
Yeah, and so to that, Randy, it looks like Taylor just wrote in and said that she has a Medicaid patient who would benefit from donning loops, but Medicaid doesn't cover those accessories. And yes, that can be the case. We compression care only can bill Medicaid in Tennessee and Kentucky. So what we typically do on some of those patients that are outside of the 90% that we can do, what we're doing is we've created a care coordination group. And so if we can't bill it, we're going to send that patient's information to one of our billing partners, and they're the other leaders on a national scale. And so what you would normally consider to be our competitors, instead we are actually working very well together to make it better for the patient and better for the therapist. So we're actually coordinating that between a lot of different companies that can handle the billing. So if you send it to us and we would have to say, ooh, I'm sorry, we can't bill it Medicaid, we're gonna kick that over to somebody that can. And the other part to that is if nobody can, right? If it's just one of those random coverages or they've got a carve out where you can't get covered, we can always kick that same thing over to Compression Guru. Compression Guru, if you're familiar with it, a little bit familiar with it, you might know that it sells products that we own Compression Guru, and they sell products for the minimum advertised price that a manufacturer will allow that product to be sold for, right? Well, a lot of people just think of that as a ready to wear spot. I go in there and I get my socks, I get my wraps, I get whatever I can get that's a ready to wear thing. What is a smaller known truth is that Compression Guru can also do self pay for custom garments. So if you have a patient, and not only can we do that, but we're working in ways that we've already got them in place right now that we can spread that payment from that patient out over a few months using a few different companies, using us and the firm and some other ones. But we've actually, say you got somebody on a fixed income every month and they can't afford $400 this month. Well, if we spread it out over $100 a month, now they've got $100 a month payment. They can fit that in their budget on a fixed income, and that spreads it out far enough for them to get the garment they need and not have to give up something like their groceries or whatever it is for that month, right? Because we don't want that. We don't want to hurt the patient to get them a garment that they actually need to cure their health. We don't want to hurt them in another way, right? So we'll work with your patients as much as possible. If we can't get the billing done, we'll find somebody that can. If nobody can, we're going to get them put over to a billing partner that will do that. And for some of those accessories, much like Randy said about L&R, how they will include some options like that for with no additional cost. There's a lot of times that we will do that same thing. If we need to, if we, if it's a $30 item on a thing that we need to get this thing moved through, we're just going to waive the $30 and try to get it moved through to help the patient, right? At the end of the day, I don't need to bill an extra $30. Let's just get it done. And it's not every patient that we have to do that on, right? If it was every patient, it might be a different story, but it's just these certain patients that really need a little extra help. And that's what we're here to do, right? At the end of the day, if we help enough patients get what they need, we're going to be fine. And so, as long as we just keep that forefront of mind, it'll be good.
I was going to say the same thing. I would say in this case, especially if it's like a donning loop, just I don't know who your rep is or where you live, but just call Paul or me. Between us and Joshua, we'll figure it out. I will figure it out. Stacy, your question, is there hardship help? It's not a formalized process. It's sort of on a case by case thing. And so I would say if you have a situation going on, reach out to your rep and we'll figure something out. I don't have a better answer for you than that. But we usually
Yeah,
will try to help someone out.
on compression care side, same kind of thing, right? Yes, we have hardship help. The answer is yes. We can automatically, the easiest way, the way we've always done is we will take 50% of the cost, and that will be the first payment, and then 25% will be a month later, and then 25% will be a month after that. So we can spread it over easily over 3 months like that. That's the way compression care has always operated, including our parent company, Pretty in Pink Boutique out of Franklin, Tennessee. They've been doing that for 21 years. And so we can certainly do that. But then also we've created other programs inside so that we can help the patient on a longer basis. And then all of those things failing, like the affirms and all that kind of stuff, all of that failing, then it becomes like, let's talk about it. Let's try to figure it out because we want to say yes to this patient. We want to get them help. So, we will definitely work through it. So the short answer to my long-winded statement there is yes, Stacy, there is definitely hardship help.
Any other questions? If not, I will put my email address in the chat. I don't know if Paul put his in as well. If you want samples, if you want to get connected to your local rep, email me and we'll make it happen. Oh, that was cool.
Yeah, I popped it up on the screen. The other thing I'm gonna do, we are hosting all day long. We're hosting at lounge. I know I mentioned at the beginning. I'm gonna put the link in there right now to the lounge. There is our lounge. It's a Teams meeting. You'll jump on there. My team is there. The other thing I'm gonna post here is beep, 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 is the big day of training resource page. So this resource page is this is where you will go to download any of the cheat sheets and forms that Paul and Randy have created. It is also where you will go to get your certificate for this course. So you will have to pass a test. Surprise, there's a test. But we've made it pretty where you can pass. I won't say the questions are easy; they're probably pretty tricky, but you're going to pass this test, and at the end of it will automatically generate a certificate and send you that certificate. You take that certificate, course outline, such like that, send it over to your accrediting body, see what they need. They normally will grant CEs for that. So just so you know, go ahead and get those certificates, and you can get them from that link that I just put in the chat there. But if you have any other questions, if you have anything you need aside from emailing Paul and Randy, you're welcome to jump over to that link. And my team is there. They're running it. I jumped on for about 15 minutes earlier just to say hi to everybody, and there was like 5 of them, and they're just hanging out and chatting with people. So you're welcome to jump over there and check it out too. If I don't see any other questions coming in, though, I do want to say thank you, everyone, for attending. I really do appreciate that. You will get some emails, a thank you email later on. You're going to get all these links. So if you don't have these links to the resource, if you can't get to it right now, um, you will get an email. Nothing is going to disappear. So you will get all of that. You will have everything. You'll be able to access this later on. We will be sending out everything you need over the next few days. I will say that it probably will happen tomorrow, but by the end of the day, Friday, we'll definitely get everything out to everyone that you need. And then you're welcome to email me as well. I'll throw my email up there right now too, just so you have that. You're welcome to email me if you need anything at all. Paul and Randy, thank you for being a part of this and doing this presentation today. I really appreciate it. I know it makes a difference to all our therapists, and it certainly makes a difference to me. So thank you very much for being a part of this.
Of course, thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Thanks,
All of
man.
this is all of this is recorded too. It's going to be on our website. It's going to be on YouTube. You're going to live forever right now. So I definitely appreciate you guys. So everybody have a good day. If you're going to be in some of the later meetings, I can't wait to hear from you there. So we'll see you soon.
Thanks so much.
Thank
See you,
you.
Paul. See you, Randy.